Hi, Earth Signs. This is your July 2020 general reading. These are your oracle cards. There's going to be 3 lines. The first one is the active line. You can use your own words to use these lines, call them what you may. Everyone seems to know where they fit in the spectrum of activity, passivity in their selves. Are you active type? Are you a passive type? You know. So that may help if you to place yourself, if this resonates at all with you, in one of these lines. This is going to be the active. This is the passive. We'll have one more that's the blending of these two energies. So I'm using the Psychic Tarot for the Heart by John Holland for the oracle cards here. And dedicated effort. This is the 8 of Pentacles card in other decks. Dedicated effort, the artistic approach, the artist who's the master craftsman, the artist who has passed so many milestones in their life. They've gleaned the positives and the negatives from every endeavor, and therefore they're a master. Now it's time with this particular type of card to bring the mastery into your love life, into the life where you give and receive love of all sorts, and to not only provide yourself and your approach with your artistic nuances, but also to receive the same way, and simultaneously to be a beacon for others. Because if you're a master, it took something to get there, and others tend to be drawn to the masters and to want to partake of their wisdom, whether it just be by appreciating what they've done, where they've been, or by aspiring to reach some of those heights themselves. That's the active line. The passive line, confront. But in other decks, this is the moon card. So the connotation here is that things in your life that suggest something that's been in you for what feels like forever, or something that just emerged that took you by surprise that it was in you, is now coming to the surface. And what are you going to do? As it surfaces, the idea of confronting it makes sense. Because the best way to take the demon out of a demon is to welcome it in. Come on in and tell me what you want. I had somebody suggest that to me once, and I tried it. And what an experience followed. It came out of the closet, the skeleton, I called it. And I said, come on over and sit down next to me and tell me what you want. It did. That's the guarantee here. And that's actually so worth it, right? When you get to the number 18 in the major arcana, you're ready to clear any lingering clinging elements that you've brought with you all during your journey. And in order to get rid of them effectively, it helps to see them clearly. And when you do, the way to do that is to look it in the face. Look directly at your shadow. Find out, what is it? Who is that? Where did it come from? And is that really worth taking with you to the world card, which is only 3 cards away at that point, right? So, as I was thinking about this reading today and focusing, I was visited by the thought, where are we at? And as I looked into that thought, I realized that it's an appropriate question, where we're at. July, which is the focus here, is going to see a lot of changes and attempts, the first real attempts that I've seen, at least in the state where I live, to return to somewhat of a normal scenario in our day-to-day lives out there in the world with each other, heading ultimately for no social distancing. When that'll happen, only the gods know. But where we're at right now is taking the steps. It's almost like an enforced process by the powers that be, by the divine, to sequentially unfold back into our world of connection. We've been connected. We were connected. We will always yearn to be connected. But how we connect, is that going to stay the same? It's already different. It can't stay the same. So where we're at, what's July all about? And I thought that's probably what the cards want to talk about today. What are we going to do? What are the energies that are most appropriate for the earth signs, fire signs, as a collective, to bring together as we unfold back into what we'll someday call normal again? Active line. Got the artisan. Beginning with the devil. Going to the 7 of Pentacles. And then the 5 of Swords. So earth signs. You've got yourselves being, so your creative self, right? I mean, when we think about, we got the 8 of Pentacles here. 2 4s balanced between, the 4 here. If this were the 8, the 4 here, a balance between the material world and the non-material world. So what does that include? It includes a 3 of Pentacles type of approach. And that is what I'm feeling is going to be most important in July for you to rely. If you're the active part of this equation in your relationships or in your personal relationship with your inner being, you're going to want to visit and stay anchored and tethered to your 7 of Pentacles self. That part of you that is confident, that part of you that knows you're firmly attached to the earth and yet can soar into those realms of creativity, because you might need it. We'll talk about this in a second, how these two cards can work together. But this card is on the one side, you're bracketed by something that is perhaps going to be a little bit more of a challenge or difficult than, in other words, not necessarily a dance in the park, but worth the effort. Definitely. And on the one side of you, you're going to have to take a look at, according to this, get down to the bottom line with yourself. Find out how you tick at your roots down to the nitty gritty. So why would you do that? Why would you go and put yourself in a situation where you have to confront your demons? Well, because you want to be rid of them. You want to ultimately define false truths for yourself and be able to distinguish what is true and what is not. Your truth. And then on the other side, you have some ghosts hanging out of former thought processes that you applied when you're in problem solving. Maybe it was on your way to becoming the artisan that you are. And that's going to be along with the decisions you make here and bracketed on the other side, and staying firmly anchored into your center. It's interesting that this is center. Center yourself and stay there with your internal strength, and then float these challenging ideas on the one hand, truths on the other hand, in front of yourself in order to get further than you've been before. That's all I can say. I don't know where you are in terms of your development, but I can say that if your baseline is where you are now, you want to go further than you have been before. Dedicate yourself to that. And you've got your partner here to help. The passive part, maybe backing off a little bit from rushing into battle with your swords is going to be a good idea. But let's see what the passive, wow. 2 moon cards in one line. Wow. Okay, there's a lot of opportunity to work this out and to complete the process, to actually have a good time in July. But I mean, good times not in terms of the Mardi Gras, dancing in the streets, good times. There's good times that come from good efforts, from effective efforts. What do I mean by that? Well, implied here is a lot of soul searching. And if you're confronting this already, if you're going to confront it, you're going to let that crustacean emerge out of the depths and take a good look at what it's bringing with it. Is it bringing some memories of your past? Then, that can be an endeavor. So, you got the king in here. Okay, so and it's being the king of pentacles. I mean, there's a lot of earth here to work with. A lot of earth. And your earth signs, right? So applying that, remember we were going to stay centered here. Here, just like a column sitting in the middle as a hinge point, let's say, for these to, be able to open and bracket, On this axis, you got the 7 here that you're anchored to, but then you got the king. And the king's looking over at the creativity card. Something I think that amongst earth signs, I mean, the Taurus people that I've known that have been creative, that have been artistic, they are so at home with the 3 of Pentacles. And the king's looking there. So there's a strength card. And actually, this is going to be, I hope you like challenges, because this is going to be almost like a puzzle. It's going to be fascinating to you, however. It's not like it's a puzzle that is a dull and boring thing to figure out. It's like figuring out your destiny. And your destiny is big. It's big. It's got all this grandiosity to it, this masterful quality to it. So I want to take a look at the third line and see how these energies blend from the cards before going into what I'm seeing here in terms of cross connections. So let's see what this bag of tricks holds. In the situation is the Queen of Cups. In the challenge is justice. In the strength, the asset, is the Page of Cups. And in the potential outcome is Temperance. Wow. I am loving this because there aren't any cups here, are there? They're all down here in the blending. So this whole line speaks to the blending of these energies. And what are we blending? Well, the situation, and by the way, all these cards are, you're not there yet, but you're aware of these forces. These cards all have a front and a back. They're all the front. And so you're looking at it kind of like from the outside right now. That's okay. Makes for more of the beginner's mind application here. And the Queen of Cups. So take your beginner's mind and realize that your situation you need to be patient with it as it unfolds. Remember, this is going to be a puzzle, a challenge, like going through the maze and finding your way through it. And you're challenged in a sense. Maybe it's going to be new territory in the sense, I mean, with all this moon energy, you're looking at a world that you're looking at it under a new light. And maybe up until now, in your blending of your energies, you haven't quite been as willing as you need and want. Your inner being wants to be more speaking your truth, more living your truth as a unit, as a partnership, and also having the balance. I mean, it doesn't surprise me that just the Justice card, she's referred to as the perfect woman. She brings truth and balance. And perhaps because it's a challenge that you haven't been doing your level best to be this, to be balanced, and to live your truth and speak your truth. But if you apply patience to the scenario, that becomes merely an exercise, not a challenge. But take it as an exercise, take it seriously. And your asset is that it opens up a new pathway. It opens up a new way to go. This is all about pathways, all about a new endeavor into the unknown, into the land of where light illuminates with a difference from the sun. It illuminates with the light of the moon. So love conquers all. And cups, and cups, right? Temperance. So I want to highlight the fact that this is a strength. This is huge. I mean, yeah, you know how to be the kingly energy and all that, and you know how to be the artist, but do you know how to work from your beginner's mind every day? Every day. Start from the fact that there's much to learn, and you open yourself up to receiving that. And as a potential outcome, temperance is very powerful. It's got a lot of power in it in terms of achievement and being. But the idea of temperance, if you take the idea of tempered steel, what makes tempered steel tempered? What are they seeking, the metallurgists, when they're making tempered steel? They're seeking to make it less brittle. If you look up the idea of tempered steel, you'll see that the process is designed to be less brittle. So whereas justice can seem to cut to the chase and be very black and white, you're either guilty or you're innocent. At that same time, if you can soften the idea of her by tempering everything that you do, be willing to be more flexible, more malleable, more willing to bend than to break, like brittle breaks and flexible bends. I think that's the key to the outcome here. The last thing that I want to mention was the cross-reference here. So if the challenge here is to confront your shadow side, then that's got a certain flavor to it. The confrontational, the looking it in the face, the like inviting it out of the shadows, come out into the light. That's a lot like when you're visiting the idea of your false truths, the idea of not allowing yourself or your world to live in that sometimes lighted, sometimes shadowy world of false truths. You don't know what's right when you're allowing yourself to be mixed in terms of truth. Truth is truth. Light is light. So the idea here, though, is just this. And consider that this line, these two lines can work in all different ways. Already we saw the strength of this being like a column of strength. But now consider this. Partner with each other. Here's two divinely inspired cards, two major arcana cards. And from that standpoint, you're talking about your higher spirit. And if you're going to talk about your higher spirit, then why not consider the idea that there's similarities here? And by shouldering it as a team, as you work through, you're going to always be individuals. But as you work through your individual endeavors or challenges, there are areas you can cross-reference and you can become each other's wing person, have their back, have each other's back, and have a great July. This has been fun. See you next time.